Hey everybody, it's JJ here, and we're happy to go ahead and kick off another ASUS PC DIY hard stream. This time around, we're going to actually be talking about the actual brand new board that's right here next to me, which is going to be the latest addition to the actual AM5 series of motherboards that we're going to be offering. And this is going to be the brand new ROG Crosshair X670E Hero. So I know a huge number of you have been really excited about, of course, what's coming up with AM5 and, of course, with the Ryzen 7000 series CPUs. And of course, with ASUS being the world's largest motherboard manufacturer, we're of course super excited to be able to support AMD with this AM5 platform launch. And so here, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an opportunity to see a first look preview at actually this really cool board that we've got right here. So if you guys checked out our prior teaser announcement, we of course have touched on, of course, what we're going to be doing for AM5. And I'm excited now to be able to talk about the latest addition to the ROG lineup of Crosshair series boards, specifically the brand new ROG Crosshair X670E Hero. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at here in a little bit. Snef, thanks for joining us here on the stream. Fantastic to have you. Also, Peter. Hey, Peter. Happy to have you here. Thanks so much. Good morning to you as well. We got Michael, awesome, thanks for joining us here as well, and Ben, fantastic for joining us. So let's get ready to go ahead and take a closer look at this board. So we're going to actually be talking about quite a number of points here. We can't talk about everything because, of course, this board and the overall chipset is still under embargo. So this, guys, is really going to be just a first look preview opportunity, but we're going to be able to talk about some cool elements in terms of not only the aesthetic design, which you can see, but we'll also be talking about things like the overall power delivery design implementation, how that actually favors to our prior generation X570 series boards. We'll be talking about, of course, the PCIe connectivity, which if you guys saw there in the image, it's absolutely stacked with this board having 16 USB 3.2 ports, including Type-C connectivity. We're going to also be touching on, of course, improvements to our Supreme Effects audio design, ASUS Q design features and functions, and of course, seeing what questions we may or may not be able to answer from you guys as we're checking out the stream. So let's get ready to go ahead and jump straight and pretty much into it, because this is all about this board. So let's go ahead and see what we've got going on right here. Let's see if we got it. Christian, hey, thanks for your question. Can't give you any commentary in terms of anything else that we may or may not be working on in terms of other motherboards. This specific board, I can tell you, will not be offered in a different color. So this is going to be the color design. So let's go actually and bring up an image right here. Actually, I've got it on a secondary camera, so let's actually just do it. I'll bring up an image first, but we'll also go ahead and definitely take a closer look under the secondary cam, just so that everybody can get a really good look at this board and you can kind of get a sense of the design aesthetic. So let's go ahead and take a closer look here. So this is going to be right here. As you can see, the Crosshair 8, excuse me, the Crosshair X670E Hero, of course, which is going to be a follow-up replacement to our previous board, which was going to be the Crosshair 8 Hero, which we actually had a couple of variants. We had the Crosshair Standard, and then we had the Crosshair Wi-Fi Edition, and then we later, of course, released the Crosshair 8 Dark Hero based motherboard. So here you're going to, of course, see that it's got a really kind of clean monochrome design aesthetic, so it doesn't have any colors to contend or compete with, of course, your system. You got that really nice just black, which accented, of course, by your silver and your kind of gray colorways, which I think really give it a premium and refined look. And when we put it under the secondary cam, you're going to really get to see, I think, how refined the board looks, and it definitely follows the current design language that we have for our ROG series of motherboards. This finishing also that you're going to see really almost has a chrome-like appearance. So when there's no RGB lighting, it's going to be really reflective and just looks pretty much what you see right here in the board right here next to me. So let's go ahead and take a closer look right here. And let me actually put back on the heatsink to the board because I was removing it. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to go ahead and remove that quickly. And then we're going to go ahead and throw it here on the secondary board here. Excuse me, our secondary cam. And go ahead and just see here if we got any other questions that might have coming up. Michael says, nice looking board for sure. I definitely agree. I think that the overall design aesthetic that the team has gone ahead and implemented, it really looks fantastic, and it's got a really kind of premium look and feel to it. So again, I think for any type of builders, it doesn't matter whether you're going to be going with something kind of really blacked out and you want to go with something super subtle, or you want to go with, of course, that RGB flare, then you're going to be good to go in either one of those configurations. Jared's asking, is it available for pre-order? No, there's no pre-order. This is just pretty much a preview, first look preview of this motherboard. So there's no active pre-order. Although if you check out in the description, you will be able to see our AM5 microsite. So that's kind of like a landing page website that you can go to that'll have all the information regarding our motherboards as we can put out that information. So this will cover everything from, the models, the spec information, everything will be updated there over time as we get closer and closer to the launch right here. So let me go ahead and get this underneath the secondary camera right here so that we can go ahead and take a closer look. Let me see here. Any other questions currently? Colin's saying, currently running a Crosshair 8 Hero and absolutely love it. Fantastic, man. That's awesome. It's a really great board. How many M.2 slots? We're actually going to be getting to that in a little bit, but this board in total, including the actual add-in card, will be able to support up to 5 M.2 base SSDs. So it's a really big upgrade compared to the prior generation, which only essentially supported up to 2 M.2 SSDs. How many USB ports does it have? We're going to be talking about that in total, but this board is stacked. It has 16 USB 3.2 ports. So there's 12 ports that are on the rear, plus we're going to have the 2 internal USB 3.2 ports that we're going to have on right there. So it's going to be definitely stacked in terms of its overall connectivity. So let me go ahead and just get this lined up for you guys here so we can get nice and tight and be able to show you this board closer up. All right, so here we guys can see this is the board. It really looks fantastic. So you can see, of course, with no lighting on the board, you can really get that sense of how I was talking about how it has that chrome-like appearance in terms of the overall design accent. So it has a really kind of nice, kind of almost two-tone finish to it. You can see how reflective, literally, as my hand moves over on the board, right? It just has that really premium design aesthetic. So you've got the Crosshair branding right there. You've got, of course, the AM5 socket right there. You can see already, of course, the massive VRM heatsinks for this generation. We've gone and really upgraded the overall power delivery and overall the thermal solution. Now, keep in mind, this wasn't a limiting factor in the prior generation. We already had a really high performant teamed power stage design. There was a 2-stage heatsink along with a heat pipe, but for this generation, we've gone to even beefier base design. And we'll be talking actually about the VRM in a little bit right here. So of course, you can see right there, DDR5 that we have on the board. And as then we pull down, right, you can just see again that kind of really reflective design aesthetic that you have right there. So really beautiful, really clean. And you don't see any visible M.2 because the M.2 are pretty much covered. So you've got, of course, one right there. And then, of course, you've got another bay right here. And these are going to be very easy to access. You just pretty much have your screws and you'll be able to pull this off right there. So looks really, really nice. Let me go ahead and just pull this off so you guys can actually go ahead and take a look right here. All right. Oh, need to still maybe unscrew that one just a little bit right there. So give me 1 second. Let me finish getting it right there. We got one more right there. Okay, so there we go. And still a little bit more. Carl is asking about, so you can see right there, we've got, of course, the one drive right there, another drive right there, and another drive right there, right? And then another drive right there. So you can see this is going to be one M.2. And actually, we can do this right now. We're going to touch on the storage expansion, but since somebody already asked about it, why not go ahead and cover that for you guys? So let me go ahead and just remove this one right here. And you'll be able to just see how large that is. So you can see the size of the heatsink right there. It's a massive heatsink for this drive, right? So you can see right there, you've got your one M.2, then you've got 2 M.2, 3 M.2, and 4 M.2. And this board will also come with a Hyper M.2 PCI Gen 5 add-in card. So that will give you a total up to 5 M.2 based SSDs that would be able to be supported on here. And you can see right here, it also maintains our Q-latch design. So that's a really nice tool-free way that you can go ahead and install your M.2 based SSDs. So you can see right there, I just go ahead and remove that, and then I can pull that drive out. And you can see that we do have what's called dual contact. So this is an upgrade to this new generation. That's something that we recently introduced on other motherboards, where you can see that you have a heatsink for the back. And then there's also going to be a heatsink under the primary top side heatsink. So there's essentially dual contact heatsink design. So that's going to be great for, like, an example here for these 2 terabyte based M.2 SSDs where you have memory that's on the front and on the back, so high density. So you're going to get the great cooling experience on both sides. And you can see right there, we have it for 1 drive, 2 drives, and 3 drives. This drive does not, but you can see all of them have the Q-latch based design implementation. So really, really nice in that regard. Okay. Daniel, they're not going to be talking about any other variants that we may have in terms of the board, but I can kind of help you to understand that, the perspective is the Dark Hero was a specialized version of kind of like the original Crosshair. So it wasn't a standard model. So you don't need to kind of think about it being a normal model. And you'll find out more information when we get to the actual kind of formal launch of the kind of the way that we have our product stack segmented. But I will give you some kind of visibility. Actually, we'll touch a little bit on the Extreme board as well today so that you can kind of get a sense of the comparing between the two. So let me go ahead and put just this heatsink back on, and we're going to finish taking a look here just at the kind of the board. So give me 1 second to go ahead and put that back on there. But you can, again, see just how reflective that surface is. And I also want to go ahead and show you guys the Polymo display. So let me go ahead and connect actually the PSU right here. And we can actually check it out right there, how nice the Polymo display does. I'm going to go ahead and darken this up a bit so you guys can get a nice perspective from it. So you can see right there the Polymo display. This is actually a multi-layered design. So this is not the same design as we have on the Extreme board, where the Extreme board features the Anime Matrix, which actually is a whole bunch of mini LEDs that can be customized. So here we actually have multiple designs, and then you can go into the software and you can toggle them. You can go ahead and control the color scheme, so you can still go ahead and make adjustments to the lighting patterns that you have available. And this actually also can support ASUS Aura Sync support. So really, really cool in terms of this actually kind of nice design accent that you have there to really kind of be able to take your build to the next level in terms of the overall kind of stylized aesthetic. So really, really cool. So this is the Polymo display design versus the Extreme board will have the Anime Matrix based design. So 2 really, really cool designs. And then of course, we are upgrading the headers. So this board compared to the X570 is going to have 3 AirDB headers that are going to be on the board, and then still 1 for legacy 4-pin header, but that's still more headers than you had on the X570 based motherboard. Okay. So really awesome in terms of the overall kind of design aesthetic. Again, this is the Polymo based design. Let me go ahead and brighten that back up. And I'll go ahead and flip this off right there. And this will go ahead and shut off there in a moment. And you can see just again how this goes back to almost like pretty much like a chrome appearance, right? So really, really, really cool in terms of that. And Velvet Diamond, I would actually also check out. We have a really good deep dive that actually talks about DDR5 and helping to actually understand the actual benefits. Because a lot of people talk just about timings, and it's not about timings. It's actually about total effective latency. And you have to remember the DDR5 actually carries significant benefits in terms of having actually much better efficiency with things like same bank refresh. It has actually double the burst and actually also 2 independent channels compared to DDR4. So that, along with actually the increase in bandwidth, really actually affords it quite a number of benefits. So if you're especially talking also about multi-core performance, you really want the bandwidth that DDR5 can provide to a multi-core based processor. And that's, of course, going to be one of the key elements for Zen 4 is, of course, those high performance Zen 4 cores and, of course, the impressive multi-core performance that it will offer. So again, here is the Crosshair X670 Hero. We're just going to go from top to bottom and finish giving up a little bit of a tour here. And we're going to go through some of the other kind of features, functions, and specifications. All right. There we go. All right, very, very cool. So that is going to be a little bit of a close-up look there at the board. Let's go ahead and now see if I missed anybody's questions that might have popped in there. And now we're actually going to go through and take a look at some of the other elements. Okay, so let me just see right here. Chris is saying, this is going to be my next motherboard. Awesome right there. Let's see right here. How many USB 3 headers? So for this board specifically, you're going to have the 1 internal USB-C header, and then you're going to have the 30-pin header. But there's actually also a cool thing that somebody might actually wondering is that we've actually made an improvement here where if you'll take a look here at the bottom of this header, you'll actually see that the header's been reinforced. So some people really don't like this header compared to, of course, your standard USB-C header in terms of its rigidity. But you'll notice that we actually have put a specialized frame, and this actually helps to improve the torsion performance. So it's a far more rigid connector, so it doesn't flex. So this helps to improve the overall stability. So for chassis that have essentially 4 USB 3 ports, you're going to have one there with the 30 pin, and then you're going to have the other one with the USB 3.2, and this is going to be 20 gigabits. So this is going to be USB 3.2 Gen 2 by 2, so 20 gigabits. So that's an upgrade as well compared to the previous generation. And you'll see right here, there's actually a 6-pin power connector. That's because this can work in supplementation with this and offer you up to 60 watts in terms of your front power connection. So if you want to be able to connect something like, an ROG Phone 6, which has high-speed charging support, you can have up to 60 watts that can be supported. Now, your chassis has to support that, but this is a nice feature that we've also gone ahead and integrated for this generation here on the X670 Hero, and that's also going to be on the X670 Extreme board. So both Crosshair boards will feature that overall design. Okay. All right, so let me just see here if we got any other questions. And like I said, I'm going to be going through all the other details, so let's just get ready to go through. Give me any second right there. Any front IO connectors organization. So Justin, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. If you can clarify, this board will come with the Q connector. So the Q connector will allow you to go ahead and easily make a connection to all those front leads. So things like the power button, the reset button, you will get one of those inside the box. So you'll be covered right there. Big Baba is 20 gigabits, yes, but we're not even done there. We've actually got quite a bit more when it actually comes to the overall connectivity that will be available to you. So in terms of the connectivity, let's go ahead and take a closer look here at the slide so that we can actually really see everything that this board has in terms of its overall stack. So this is going to be quite impressive in terms of what you're going to have. So if we take a look right here, you can see that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So a total of 12. Okay, 12 USB 3.2 ports on the back of the motherboard. So it's an absolutely monster set of high-speed I/O. And this is one of the really great things that's afforded, of course, by this platform is all that high-speed USB-based connectivity. Okay, but we didn't just stop there. You're going to see some really cool stuff. Is that you can see right there, this is USB 4. So we're implementing USB 4 on this motherboard. So you're going to have 40 gigabits available to you there with USB 4. And then you've got 10 gigabits there. You'll also actually see right here, take a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Type-C ports on the back of the motherboard. That's absolutely awesome to be able to have that next generation connection standard, which is right now becoming so popular. And you're going to have 4 ports directly available to you on the motherboard. So you're going to have, again, 1, 2, 3, 4 USB-C ports. That's going to be USB 4. It's going to support up to 40 gigabits. And you'll also see something right here where we have HDMI, but you can also see the DP. So the DP signal means that you can actually also support display alt. So that means actually display out via the USB-C. So that gives you a lot of flexibility right there in terms of having all that high-speed I/O. So you also have, of course, all your standard kind of enthusiast rear items that are in place. So USB BIOS flashback so that you can go ahead and flash and update your CPU. Update your motherboards at UEFI BIOS. No CPU, no DRAM, and no graphics cards required. All you need to do to take advantage of that is just plug in your PSU. You got a clear CMOS button, 2.5 gigabyte networking that's going to be built on board, Wi-Fi 6E with Bluetooth 5.2, and then your multi-channel audio, which aligns with our Supreme Effects audio design. And then also, as you can see right there, you've got the 2 high-speed USB 3.2 ports internally. So we have the USB-C that I talked about here, which is going to be 20 gigabits and support up to the 60-watt charging. And then you've got your legacy kind of USB 3 header that's also going to be present there. So both of those are going to be there. And then you've got 3 internal USB 2 ports, which are going to be things for like AIOs, fan controllers, and different things along those lines. Hey, Velvet, don't worry. We're going to be talking about power delivery on this board in a little bit. So we're definitely going to get you covered there in a second. Okay, so let me just see right there. No DP input, so can you pass GPU? So this is important to keep in mind. We can't talk too much about any kind of more kind of complete specifications in terms of the way AMD works, but this is about leveraging the integrated RDNA graphics, which are part of the Ryzen 7000 series CPU. This is not like you're leveraging essentially the display out on your discrete graphics card. So if you install a discrete graphics card, you would be using the display out from the discrete graphics card, okay? All right, we also noted right here, like I said, you have a PCI Gen 5 support on this motherboard, including the, of course, primary slot, which is going to be for your next generation of PCIe Gen 5 enabled devices. So that could be for a graphics card, or it could be for an M.2 base SSD. Keep in mind right there that you have that add-in card that's going to be coming included with the board, and a support for up to, of course, 5 M.2 base SSDs, as I showed you, with 4 that are available on the board. The polymo lighting display, 3 ARGB headers, and then 1 legacy header, and then of course that Supreme Effects audio design. So pretty sweet. So let's go ahead and now to actually talk a little bit about in terms of power delivery. So in terms of power delivery, a lot of times there's some discussion when it comes to kind of trying to understand, how you should be considering power delivery. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the power delivery in a second. But the thing that you do want to kind of keep in mind when you're talking about power delivery specifications is that it's not just the number of power stages. It's not just the inductors. It's not just the capacitors. It's the holistic design, the entirety of it. So, if you talk about the overall kind of overclocking experience, what the community has shown consistently is year after year after year, generation after generation, the CrossHair series has been a benchmark for overclocking enthusiasts. And rest assured, we feel very confident in what we're doing for this generation. This will be featuring a further improved VRM, even compared to what we had on our prior generations. So it's going to be an upgrade across the board. But with that, it's, again, not just the power stages. It's not the inductors. It's not just the capacitors. It's the PCB design. It's the trace design, the topology, the thermal solution, critically the UEFI BIOS and the firmware tuning that goes into there, and the auto rules. All of that really defines kind of the OC experience, the stability, and the reliability for the platform. But with that, let's go ahead and take a look right here. So you can see here, the board is going to be featuring an 18+2 configuration. This is going to be with our teamed power stage, which is really validated in our prior generation. And this was done because it has very, very high transient response, which is what you want for dynamic boost frequencies and a lot of cores. 110 amps in terms of those power stages. And these are going to be SPS-based power stages. And then from there, you're also going to have 10K rated capacitors. These are twice the lifespan of traditional 5K rated caps, along with better temperature performance, microfine alloy chokes, which are going to be extremely high performant, and then our ProCool power connectors, which feature actually thicker pins, which actually help to improve actually temperature performance at the point of the contact between the cable and the actual housing and the actual connector itself, and then also allow for a high level of amperage for that. So you get actually improved overall power handling. So it's really been purpose designed so that if you're looking for a great experience from those Ryzen 7000 series processors, you can feel confident that you're going to get a stable and reliable experience on this board. Again, whether you're running stock or whether you're going to be running overclocked, there's not going to be any issues in that regard. Okay. So let's go ahead and just see there if we got any questions that kind of come up. We did talk a lot about there. So Velvet Diamond says, sweet, very, very cool. David is asking about MSRP. We have no pricing information to be able to provide you right now. So you just want to make sure to keep it tuned to our social channels or our ASUS PC DIY group, which is linked in the description. As we get actually closer to the release, we'll definitely make sure to give you guys that information, and you can have a clear understanding of where the boards will be positioned and priced. And right now, this is just a first look preview, but we'll have a dedicated live stream going over all the boards. We'll cover the pricing, we'll compare all the boards, and we'll do all that great stuff so you can make sure to get the right decision when it comes to picking your right board. Ahmed is asking about RAM speed. We're not disclosing any RAM specifications, so you're going to want to make sure to keep it tuned in the future for that. All we can confirm is that, of course, you have DDR5 support that's going to be present on here. Okay. So yes, space is, these are 110 amp base power stages that are going to be present on there. Okay. And extreme board coming. Yeah, so we're going to be showing you actually the extreme board here in a little bit. I don't have physically of the board, but we'll show you an image, and you can kind of compare and can see a little bit of the difference between the extreme and between the hero. So we'll go ahead and talking about both of those, so you get a little bit of kind of context between the team. Hank is asking, is this going to be the highest end board that we'll have available? So no, our flagship board is going to be the Crosshair X670E Extreme, but it's important to keep in mind that we don't necessarily think about it kind of like highest end in terms of kind of maybe all the features. For sure, the Extreme is going to have kind of the most that comes included with it. But if you talk about really kind of the performance, the feature set, the Hero really is going to be a foundation to really be able to give you a truly kind of high end AM5 experience. So it's really going to be quite nice in that regard. Okay. So let's go ahead and go over to our next item, which is going to be, of course, connectivity. And we talked already a little bit about that, right, in terms of all the expansive I/O that we have here. But we're going to go ahead and just recap that just in general, right? So again, you're going to have your Wi-Fi 6E that's going to be built on here, which also gives you Bluetooth 5. This is also backwards compatible with Wi-Fi 6. You're going to have 10G, which will be on the Extreme, and then 2.5 gig, which will be on both the Extreme and the Hero. And then you, of course, have your PCI Gen 5 support for both PCI Express for next generation based devices, or PCI NVMe M.2 based SSDs, as well as, of course, PCI Gen 5 support for M.2 based SSDs. As we noted, tons of USB-C connectivity with 4 ports in terms of Type-C, all of them being USB 3.2, and then also having USB 4 and 20 gigabits USB. And then also, of course, having that support for the 60-watt charging support. Okay, keep in mind, for the 60-watt charging support, you do need to make sure to have the PCI supplemental power connected. So again, this is going to be our I/O right here. Let me go ahead and just move that a smidge so you can go ahead and see again. So those are all the active ports that you're going to have available. And just for kind of reference, let's go ahead and compare this a little bit here to the Extreme. So here is the Extreme. The Extreme is a beautiful looking board, and I've got an image here that I can bring up so that we can get a little bit closer. But you'll see that the overall kind of configuration is very similar. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So total of 12, again, ports that you have on there, including the USB 4 that we have on there, the 20 gigabits that are on there. And again, the big upgrade is going to be getting the dual LAN to move over to 10G, as well as 2.5G that you have available to you. Okay. And then you still get the Wi-Fi 6E. You'll see, though, right here in terms of the actual I/O, is that this one has dual USB-C headers. So the Hero has essentially the legacy USB 3 header and then the USB-C header, right? But on the Extreme, you're going to have 2 of the USB-C headers. This board is also going to be an eATX-based form factor, so it's going to be a little bit larger, but of course, with it being larger, you're going to have a little bit more room for different types of expansion support. So we're even going to go to a higher performant VRM that's going to be present on here. You have the full anime matrix display that's on there that can be customized with GIFs and animations. It now actually supports Aura Sync with a new update that we just released. You have the OLED Live Dash display, which you can put like CPU, frequency, temperatures, voltages. You can run stat panel in there, RGB lighting here, and then perimeter side lighting. And then you'll also see that everything has been really nicely kind of followed in terms of right angle connectors are all right there on the right hand side of the board. This one also includes right here, you see the DIMM.2 add-in card. So this is the brand new Gen Z DIMM.2 kind of add-in card that we've had in the past. And this is going to support PCI Gen 5. So this board will also be supporting up to 5 M.2 based SSDs. So tons of expansion and tons of connectivity that you have for the Extreme board or for the Hero board. It doesn't matter. Both of them are going to be fantastic. So Swampy is asking right here is that since it's eATX, do we need a bigger case? It depends. A lot of cases on the market can support eATX, but you do want to double check and make sure that you've got enough clearance, especially with having the eATX. It's not making sure that it just physically fits, but because a lot of the connectors are on the right hand side of the board and they're kind of right angled, you do want to try to make sure that there's not going to be any obstructions, that you essentially have the ability to have those cables kind of be routed to that right hand side. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind. School, are you going to cover any more on the socket? There's not more details I can get into because we're still under embargo. So this is just going to be a first look preview on these boards and the information that we can kind of go over. Okay. Evo, can't talk about anything in relation to overclocking results. You're going to want to make sure to stay tuned for our formal launch stream. We'll probably even do a dedicated stream, even maybe following the launch live stream that'll focus just on overclocking. So you can make sure to keep tuned on that. Okay. Twisted, make sure to check out our AM5 micro site that we have linked in the description for what we're going to be doing in terms of the, for the AM5 series of boards. 8-layer PCB, that's correct. This is an 8-layer PCB, low loss PCB that we have on here, okay? No other boards are going to be talked about today or shown except for just the Extreme board and just the Hero board. Okay. So let's go ahead and now talk a little bit about Supreme Effects. And guys, if I've missed your question, feel free to go ahead and either redrop it in there in a moment, and I'll do my best to go ahead and get to it when I can there. So I do want to go ahead and now talk a little bit about what we've done in terms of the audio design, specifically for this generation, because we have actually made quite a number of upgrades for this generation in terms of the Supreme Effects audio design. So if you're not aware, Supreme Effects audio design is essentially as our isolated audio design on the motherboard. We were the first company to actually design and implement this, and now it's become very much an industry standard on gaming boards. But for this generation, we want to make even further improvements. So in the prior gen, we had the S1220 audio codec. So now we have the ALC 4082 audio codec. We then also have changed the ES Saber DAC. So this is actually quite a bit of a more advanced DAC. So the prior version was a 24-bit DAC, ES Saber DAC, which was very high quality and high performance stereo based unit. But this ESS 9218 moves up to being a 32-bit versus a 24-bit base DAC, and also supports ESS's quad DAC technology. And there's going to be three big improvements. One is going to be what's called the noise floor. The noise floor has been significantly improved here. The THD performance has also been improved, and the signal to noise ratio has also been improved. So the three key areas which really actually define kind of the audio performance for the actual DAC have all been improved. And you still also have their integrated what's called integrated op amp, which the integrated op amp helps to actually drive the voltage to your headphones. And so you can actually drive nice dynamic performance for headphones to be able to get a nice experience when it comes to connecting your analog based headset. And really, when you're talking about kind of games, music, movies, whatever it might be, you're going to really be able to get a great audio experience. So this is going to be a big upgrade moving over to the 9218 ESS quad DAC with 32-bit, and like I said, improvements to the noise floor, to the THD, and to the NSR. Here, in terms of the audio grade capacitors, we're still maintaining those Nichicon audio grade caps, which give it nice kind of tonality. We have gone ahead and upgraded the actual rear jacks on this board. So the rear jacks are going to be LED illuminated. So that's cool. We used to have that in the past, but we hadn't had it recently on a board. And so now we have that there. So that's cool. So if you're going to be plugging something in, you kind of know exactly which jacks they are. And then the switching MOSFETs, you might be wondering what that's about. And that's actually specifically implemented to help to reduce popping. So when your actual system is kind of powering on or starting, this actually helps to mitigate any kind of pop that you might get. This is more common a lot of times when you maybe have a little bit more sensitive speakers or sometimes headphones connected and you restart your system, you might hear a pop. So that helps to mitigate that. And of course, we're still going to be continuing the rich software suite that we have included with our motherboards. So we'll talk about that and we'll demonstrate that more as we get actually closer to the launch right there. Okay. So let me just see right there. Hey, just passing by. So we've talked about in terms of the USB connectivity. So USB feature set, you'll have USB 4 that will be present up here, up to 40 gigabits that will be available. Let me see right here. Hey, Max, can't talk about anything else that we may or may not have under design and development. So you can actually check out our current AM5 landing page. Actually, let me show you guys currently what the AM5 landing page looks like so that if you're interested, you guys can actually check that out right now to be able to see other information that we have in terms of our current motherboard lineup. And we're going to continue to update this, of course, over time. So if you're interested in, of course, checking anything out, you can. And I can also go ahead and drop this in the chat. So let me go ahead and drop that in the chat there for you. So this is our AM5 microsite, and you can go ahead and check that out to be able to go ahead and get all the information on ASUS's AM5 series-based motherboards. So you can see that we've got more information going to be coming there between ROG, which we are talking about with our CROSSHAIR series, and there, of course, you can see all the other information. So make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned, all right? Let me go ahead and just see right there. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys, and I will go ahead and Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and now go over to our next item right here, guys. And we're going to go ahead and now just talk a little bit about ASUS Q design. So in terms of the ASUS Q design, this covers actually quite a number of different kind of features and functions that we have available. So in terms of this kind of feature set and functionality, the kind of the benefit that you have, of course, with anything that's going to be on the Q design side is going to be about trying to make kind of the build experience that much easier for you when it comes to kind of putting together your system. And so we've done this in a lot of different ways. So this includes things like our Q latch design, which I showed you a little bit earlier with the M.2 SSDs, which allows you to really kind of just easily install your M.2 SSD. You don't have to worry about kind of small screws. Just turn that little latch and it locks the M.2 based SSD in place. The Q release design, which actually I can demo for you here, which is actually a really cool ejection mechanism to allow you to go ahead and be able to remove the graphics card easily. Of course, the debug LED, which will allow you to go ahead and see kind of what's called real-time information for your system when it's powering on, going through what's called the power on self-test. So you can have debug codes to be able to reference. You can also actually enable this to have temperature reporting. The Q connector for easily connecting all the front chassis leads to your system, single-sided latch design for memory in terms of the QDIMM, and then your 4 LEDs, which would be for diagnostic purposes. So we have one for the CPU, for the DRAM, for the graphics card, and for the boot device. So let's go ahead and take a closer look right here. And here we can see on our motherboard, right, we've got our PCI Express slot right here. And you'll actually see that there's this little button that's right there, right? So we can see right here with this button, this is actually the Q release mechanism. So this is something that ASUS, again, has innovated and kind of pioneered to be able to make the build experience easier. So we'll see right here, this is an older card that I've got right here, but it's a pretty big card. This is actually one of our DirectCU cards. Now, we have got cards that really vary in terms of the overall kind of size, right? Most of the cards you're going to have are generally going to be now usually between like 2.7 to as much as like our biggest cards, like our Noctua, which are 4.3 slot, right? And so the cool thing is right here is let's go ahead and install this and show you how this works. So you can see I've gone ahead and installed the graphics card. It is locked in place, right? And you can see now I can't move the graphics card. If I were to go ahead and pull it out, right? I can't move it, pull it out. It's there stuck in place, right? Now, normally what you would have is you'd have some type of like maybe little button somewhere in here, and you would be trying to depress that Q latch, that Q slot to be able to eject the graphics card. But now you see that button that's accessible. All you need to do is just hold down that button and pull the graphics card out. So it makes it really, really easy if you're upgrading or troubleshooting or kind of doing anything. You have this, and this is going to be both on the Hero and on the Extreme board. So again, all you got to do is just press that button and you can remove the graphics card from the motherboard. It's a really, really nice feature and just makes the overall build experience that much more seamless. So that is going to be when we're talking about our Q design and we're talking about Q release. That is the feature that we're talking about. They're live in action. You get to be able to see that functionality. You just see right here. So Spider JV says, great idea. Yeah, it's really a fantastic feature, and it just makes the overall kind of just build experience that much more streamlined and just makes it just, that much, again, easier, right? It's just that much more useful for individuals, right? Let's see here if we've got any other questions that might have popped up right there. Velvet, we're not talking about any specifics that we'll have in relation to the UEFI BIOS options you might have available, or maybe some of the other kind of specific features that you might have. So just make sure to keep it tuned in the future for our formal launch, and you'll have all that detail available to you that will come out in the not too distant future, okay? Deb Trend says, very nice touch. Yeah, thank you. I think I definitely agree. It really helps to just overall improve upon the experience. We don't have any pricing to be able to disclose, so you're just going to make sure to join our PC DIY group, which is linked in the description. Follow our channels for more information to be able to go ahead and find out. Somebody's asking about 2-pin for the CPI power. Yes, so if we just go ahead and go back here to our board, there is two. So you do have one connector right here and another connector right here, but do keep in mind that this is not necessarily required, right? The two power connectors already, these feature are ProCool power connectors. If you actually can see, these are very thick pins. So these thicker pins actually allow for a higher level of current handling. So by the default is going to be actually one, but most high quality power supplies like our Thor power supplies, which we have now and of course 1,000 watt and upcoming 1,200 watt and even 1,600 watts will always come with two sets. So you might as well just connect both of them. Okay. So is there real estate between the screen on the left-hand side of the board to the RAM slot to fit any size AIO? So you don't have any issues with that. Keep in mind, we make pretty much the biggest pump head on the market with our Ryzen 2. So the Ryzen 2 is a 3.5-inch display. There's not a bigger AIO on the market in terms of that's display. And we've already validated our actually Ryzen 2 for the AM5 platform. So you can make a combination between our Ryzen and the Crosshair Hero or the Crosshair Extreme. So you're going to be good to go in that regard. Hey, Zenthos, can't go into anything specifics regarding any type of overclocking. You're going to want to make sure to keep it tuned to the PC DIY group and our future stream, where we'll definitely be diving into ASUS-centric overclocking aspects. We'll probably even do an overclocking guide like we did on our prior platform launch to be able to kind of help you understand all the cool things that you can do with our motherboards and for Zen 4, okay? And Ryzen 7000 series processors. Michael, I think, makes a great point, right? Nice in and out without any issues or damage, right? Yeah, so it definitely just overall makes it really a straightforward experience. Easy peasy, definitely. Hey, Twisted, thanks for your feedback regarding the PCIe slot layout. I definitely appreciate that, and we'll definitely keep that in mind in the future. Hey, Erwin, you're going to have to make sure to keep it tuned for more information when it comes to anything in relation to kind of different types of, let's say, storage subsystem options that'll be available as we get closer to the actual chipset launch. Okay. Okay. Let me go ahead and just see if we have any other just questions that might have come up right there. And Nubu saying, thank you for ASUS for all the awesome and wonderful MOBAs. Yeah, thank you so much. I definitely agree. I think this is a pretty fantastic set of options. So let's go ahead and just quickly again recap here. And just go over the Extreme and the Hero just lastly right here as we get ready to wrap things up in terms of our first look preview. Hopefully you guys found this exciting for us to be able to go ahead and show you, again, the latest introduction to our AM5 series motherboard with the brand new ROG X670E Crosshair Hero. So this board is a really awesome board, and I think it's going to probably be the community favorite for people that are going to be building with Ryzen 7000 series processors for the AM5 based platform. So let's go ahead and take a closer look here in terms of the Extreme first, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Hero. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually load these up side by side so that we can see them side by side. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. And there we go. So, okay, so we got them side by side here. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. So here you can see this is going to be the Extreme. So this is going to be the Crosshair X670E Extreme board. And then right here, you can see the Crosshair X670E Hero. So these are going to be the two different boards that we're going to have in terms of the ROG Crosshair series. And you can see that the big difference is this is ATX, this is EATX. This one has the Polymo layered RGB display, right? And then this one has the full anime matrix display. So that's the same one that you see right here on this Extreme board, where you can go ahead and customize that with your own GIFs, your animations, different types of actually options. You also, of course, have the OLED live dash display, which allows you to put things like temperatures, voltages, fan speeds, a lot of different data points can be put in there that you can have cycle through there. And you can also have text and GIFs that are also present in there. The GIFs are specifically limited to black and white, and they have to be specific resolution because it's, of course, a much smaller resolution display than this. But you have essentially two different displays. And of course, here you have an RGB lighting zone, and then here you also have a RGB lighting zone. And then both boards will support up to 5 M.2 base SSDs, but an advantage here with the Crosshair Extreme will be that the Crosshair Extreme comes with that Gen.Z add-in card, which will give you PCI Gen 5 support, right? So that one can be easily gone ahead and just installed, after the fact, right? They both have that Q release technology, which allows you to easily eject the graphics card. They both are going to support the Q latch design for the M.2 based SSDs, and then they're also going to both support the dual-sided heatsink design as well in there. They're both going to have ultra high performance power stage configurations, right? But here, the Extreme, of course, is even going to have a higher power stage configuration. They're both SPS, both 110 amps. It's just that the count is going to be a little bit higher here on the Extreme board. They both have very hard performance, very large VRM heatsink assemblies with a full high performance heat pipe that goes through the 2 stages. So when I refer to 2 stage, that means 1 stage right here and another stage right here, right? And then if you actually get closer, you can see that connecting heat pipe, which will actually go through both stages of the heatsink assembly. And you'll also see that this does feature what's called kind of our semi-dual contact design, which means it makes contact with the power stages and also with the inductors. Okay. And last but not least here, right, keep in mind that the Extreme has 2 USB-C here. So one USB-C here, and then another USB-C here, where if we go on the Hero, you're going to see USB-C and then that legacy USB 3 header. But it has also been reinforced. And for the USB speed, they're both going to be 20 gigabits, and they will both support the 60-watt fast charging technology. Okay, so that is going to be the Extreme and the Hero. And lastly, I will just recap showing you guys the I/O configuration. So just let me go ahead and show you guys the I/O configuration one last time here. Okay, so perfect here. And we'll go ahead and show you. So here you can see in terms of the I/O, this is going to be for the Extreme. And again, you're going to have 12 total ports that'll be available to you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, and then 4. So including USB 4 and 20 gigabits there. So that will be for the Extreme, right? And you'll have essentially a very similar base configuration that will be on the Hero. And when we look on the Hero, you can also similarly see you're going to have 2, 4, 4, and 2. So you have 12 also. So both are pretty much going to be featuring the same level of kind of high-speed I/O. And again, with USB 4 and 20 gigabits. All right, so let me go ahead and just lastly wrap it up here, and let's see if we have any kind of questions that might just have popped up right there, and we'll get ready to wrap things up. And keep in mind, of course, if you guys have more questions, make sure to just keep it tuned to our ASUS social media channels. You can check out our PC DIY group, which is linked in the description below. As we get closer to the actual AM5 launch, rest assured we'll have more information, and we'll have a dedicated stream that will be covering our AM5 product offering in depth, and we can actually go into more details regarding kind of all the overclocking centric aspects, UEFI demo, and all kind of the other cool stuff. So make sure to keep it tuned there. These are going to be DDR5 based motherboards. P4 Doers is asking, what's the speed of Ethernet? Yeah, I did cover that earlier, but let me just recap. So for the Extreme board will be 10 gigabit and 2.5 gigabit with Wi-Fi 6E. And for the Hero will be 2.5 gigabit with Wi-Fi 6E. So you essentially have dual LAN and then one single LAN, and they both have Wi-Fi 6E. Rudy says, IO configurations are awesome. No complaints here. Yeah, I think it'd be hard to argue with that. I mean, 12 ports alone on the back, all USB 3 Gen 2 with USB 4, 4 USB-C, and 20 gigabits too. You really couldn't ask for more. I think probably you're asking about that's the Gen.Z add-in card. So that's the add-in card for the PCI Gen 5 M.2 based SSD on the Extreme board. Yeah, if you need legacy USB, pretty much the only reason why people still use USB 2 now, although keep in mind basic things like our peripherals, right, which still are USB 2 would interface with the ports that are going to be USB 3.2 on the back, is that you still do have internal USB 2 headers on the internal motherboard. And so those would be things for like the USB 2, which would be for like an AIO cooler, or for certain different types of peripherals, or maybe if your chassis has a front USB 2, that would also be applicable. Hey, Freak777 Power, you might actually want to make sure that you update to actually the latest Agisa 1.2.07, which actually helps to resolve FTPM stutter. So if that's something you're experiencing, we have gone ahead and already released that Agisa in partnership with AMD. So it is available on a support site if you have an ASUS-based motherboard. JB's asking, what is the 6-pin power connector beside the 24-pin power connector? So let me go back here one more time to just show that. This connector right here, the 6-pin is working in conjunction with this USB-C header, and that's going to provide actually up to 60 watts of USB PD power. So if you wanted to use this, your chassis has to support it, but essentially that would allow you to have fast charging for something like, take for instance, like a laptop. We have actually laptops that have actually USB-C charging, like our ZenBook series, our VivoBook series, our ROG Strix series, or even phones like our ROG Phone 6, which actually have high-speed charging support. So that is what specifically that is. Any info on the dimensions? No specifics as of right now in terms of the dimension information. Just make sure to keep it tuned to that AM5 website that we've gone ahead and linked in, and you'll be able to find out more information as we get ready to complete that. And anybody asking about other motherboards that we're not talking about any other boards, just make sure to keep it tuned to our AM5 website. You can see that we actually have more coming, so just make sure to keep it tuned to find out what we're going to be offering in terms of other AM5 motherboards. And a great place to be able to find out about that information will be in our PCDIY group and our ASUS social media channels, as well as, like I said, that AM5 website. Okay. Fan connectors. How many fan connectors on the Extreme? Sure, I can go ahead and go over that. So give me 1 second right here. And there's quite a number of connectors that you actually have on that board. So let me go ahead and see if I can pull that up here. So if we take a look right here, in terms of the actual connectors, you can see that you've got your fan grouped kind of connectors right here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And keep in mind that this board actually also comes supplementally with actually the fan controller and hub. So that actually gives you 4 additional fan headers. And of course, all of them support PWM splitting. So you can go ahead and run an easy splitter there to be able to go ahead and have, 1, 2, 3, 4 fans connected to one single header. So there's a lot of flexibility on this. And the boards also still come with the ROG water cooling zone headers that are on the motherboard. So you definitely have lots of connectors there. And so definitely with these boards being very popular within the kind of the water cooling community, we're definitely aware that people want not only a large number of headers, but they like having the dedicated water pump header that's also on the board, as well as all those kind of rich options that we have for fan control. So make sure to keep it tuned because we got more details coming in that regard in the future. So Skulls is saying, wait, the Extreme allows for gifts to be placed in the display on the I/O. So you can see right here, this is actually right here. This is the actual anime matrix display, and you can actually see that we have animations right there live. So you've got tons of actually coverage in terms of being able to put in all kinds of really cool animations. And you can go in and you can tailor this, you can tweak it, you can tune it, you can actually set it up. I might actually have this system live if I actually can show you. I might be able to actually show you live how you can actually go into the anime display matrix and be able to actually customize that interface. So give me a second and I'll see if I can actually show that to you guys. Okay. Hey, Rui, definitely I would say that, a discrete sound card like this, even discrete sound cards that we make, like our Zonar series, are always going to be higher performing than an integrated audio solution. But definitely this is even a further improvement than what we've had in terms of the isolated audio design that we have in prior generations. Does the Extreme come with the screen on the IO Shield? Yes, so that's that Anime Matrix display. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can go into the operating system and be able to show you that, guys. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can go into the OS and I can go ahead and show you guys and see if I can bring that up. Okay, so let me see if I do have that active here. Okay, so actually I do have it, so I can show you guys this. So give me a second. This is our Intel-based board, but the overall UI elements will be the same in terms of being able to give you the flexibility to do this. So if we go ahead and load this up, you'll see that we have our Armory Crate UI interface, right? And you would just click over here, and you can see all of our different actually items that we have available, right? And so if we actually head over here to the Maximus Extreme, we could go click into that, or you can actually go here into the Anime Matrix. And when you go into the Anime Matrix, you'll see that you have actually all these here in the ROG gallery. And so you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different there, and they're all looping through those. So you have the ability to go in there and you can actually download more. When we actually are always downloading this directly into the Armory Crate backend server. So these are actually created by our team, and we actually also can have people submit them themselves. So you can go and you can customize those, and you can make other changes right here. So you can see you can adjust the delay, the contrast. You can make this brighter if you want to, right? So you've got a lot of flexibility right there. And then content library, like I said, you can click on the download more. And you can also change this to go to text effects. So if I actually go here to on, you can actually put in custom text. We actually have different options here for being able to change the font size, the speed, and the color, and all the lighting. So a lot of different options that you have available to you right there. So that is actually the Anime Display Matrix. And then lastly, right here, you can see that it's in animation mode, but you can actually change it to system mode. And in system mode, you could actually have this be a clock with a date, along with different color information. And then audio mode would actually have this be reactive. So it would actually just react just very much like any type of music mode, right? Like we have in our normal RGB lighting options. And then there's even a very cool visualizer, and you can have the visualizer spectrum that's on there, which is pretty cool too. So a lot of different ways to be able to tweak and tune the Anime Matrix that is present on there. All right, let me see. Wow, we got a lot of comments that came in right there. So let me just see. So PGPC says, I have custom text scrolling across the Anime Matrix screen on my Flare 2 is a really awesome feature. Scylla saying, that's awesome. Sniff says, one of the best modders and builders in the game. He's worked with a huge number of our boards. He says he really likes just adding the time. It looks really great with the clock. Okay. All right, guys. So I think, does this board have Wi-Fi 6? Yes, both of these motherboards, the Crosshair X670 Extreme and the Crosshair X670 Hero, do feature Wi-Fi 6E, which is backwards compatible. And of course, if you pair these up with an ROG Rapture router, which we have, you're going to be able to get that best experience in terms of taking advantage of the Wi-Fi 6E speeds. The BIOS, you definitely don't have to worry about. These are very large, dense BIOSes that we have on here. So there's more than enough support to be able to support all of our specialized auto rules, features, and functionality in there, and then forthcoming updates. If you're not aware, ASUS really led the industry in terms of having extensive UEFI AGESA support, unlike some other competitors, which even had to refresh base motherboards. So we're definitely committed to making sure that we're going to continue to offer a great UEFI experience. Okay. All right. I think overall, this helps to just wrap up our stream, guys. Hopefully you found this cool and interesting and useful. Again, if you guys have more information that you're looking for, make sure to go ahead and check out the AM5 microsite that we have. I will go ahead and link that in the chat right now, so you have that available to you. And also make sure to go ahead and join us in terms of our ASUS PC DIY group. It's a fantastic community that we have where you can go ahead and ask all your questions regarding ASUS products. We release tuning guides and information, product updates, software update notices, all kinds of stuff in there. And it's a great space to be able to find out about the latest and greatest from ASUS. So with that, guys, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, and definitely make sure to keep it tuned for more from ASUS coming for AM5 and that next generation Ryzen series 7000 processor. So some really cool stuff. So take care, take it easy, and enjoy the rest of your day.